The worst horror movie I ever saw was fucking great.
Hello and welcome to This May Hurt a Bit. My name is James Strayer and this is
John C. Myers.
And we are a horror franchise podcast discussing each film in horror franchises. And today we are discussing Hellraiser, Hellworld from 2005. My first thought, this movie is almost 20 years old.
Oh man, it is, isn't it?
That makes you feel bad, doesn't you?
Yeah. Well, it's even older because they shot it.
Oh yeah,
like in 2002, and then just sort of sat on it for a while.
So 23-year-old. This movie is. Yeah, it came out right around Deader, and I'm sure I watched this near back to back, just as they shot these near back to back. Hadn't seen it since then, and this is another scrapped script that was refurbished to jam some Cenobites in, as has been the last several. And I will say, much like Deader, after the bleakness of the previous ones, not saying it's a good movie, it's kind of watchable. You know, and I wasn't mad until the very, very end. But I
hate you, and I hate this movie. And I hate everything. I did not enjoy this. This is like for all the how not thrilled I've been on the last, frankly, anything since 3, really. Mm-hmm. But this one felt the most Pinhead shoved into like just this blender of horror tropes of the time. Really doesn't feel like a Hellraiser movie.
No, not at all.
In any capacity.
Right.
Some of that being that, it was written originally by Joel Soisson, who regular listeners might recognize that name as the guy was part of the troubled Maniac Cop 3. Oh, where he ended up kind of having to take over for William Lustig when he stepped away. And in fact, he's on the Blue Underground DVD kind of. They made up or whatever, but he kind of lays out like everything that was wrong there. I believe we talk about it a bit on that episode.
Yep.
But yeah, he wrote this script that he had called like Camp Dark Breathe or something weird like that. And yeah, they took it over, and Carl Dupree, who's written with Boda before and has done the previous one or two of the previous ones, basically had 2 weeks to try to jam everything Hellraiser in it. And I mean, he did.
Yeah.
It's very jammed in there. Yeah. But
the funny thing about this, and I was listening to the director's commentary on this not long, just before we recorded, and it was so incredibly confusing that if I would have written it all down and re-looked at it, it might make sense to me. But like between these 3 guys, they were shooting back-to-back Deader and Hellworld in Romania. But when they left to go film, they didn't have this script ready. And the producer, he uses language like, well, when you do these kind of twofers over there in Romania, so everything is about, stretching that dollar no matter what. Yep. And a lot of the sets in this were used in the Prophecy series. Like they had just shot Prophecy 4. Lance Henriksen was just coming off of Mimic 3. So it is just a horror factory over there in Romania. And they were even saying that when you do productions like that over there, one day you'll be shooting movie A and the second day you'll be shooting movie B and then back to movie A, whatever you happen to be working on. But they were prepping a movie that they didn't have a script for in Hellworld. And that just sounds maddening.
Yeah. Well, and when he finally it was time to go, basically Rick Boda had a week of pre-production.
Yeah.
To kind of put, there might have been little stuff here and there, but that's insane. Mm-hmm. That's an insane thing to try to make a movie with. And you can see why it's like, oh, well, this all just takes place in this one house. Yeah. Granted, there's a lot of locations within this house, but it's very much the Hellraiser Hellworld is the Wishmaster 3 of Hellraiser movies. That it just sort of forgot what to do with the main character. And you're spending a whole bunch of time with these awful people that you do not care about, and it's all mostly in the same location.
Mm-hmm. I was excited going into this just for the whole stupid online gaming aspect of it. I had forgotten that that's just a dumb framing device.
It really does not matter. Mm-hmm. It's very stupid that's like, 'cause if you think about it for 2 seconds about how any of this stuff works, which granted it was 2002, so
yeah.
you know, we weren't at all as a society as online as we are now, but the game itself looks real dumb.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they didn't spend a whole lot of time with it. But it's also that the gimmick is for this thing is that these teens were obsessed with this game, and one of their friends got so obsessed with it that he killed himself.
Like D&D in the 80s.
Like D&D in the 80s or something. He could not get the cleric spell he wanted, so he killed himself. Right. And then 2 years later, some of them are still playing the game. And when you win, I guess you find the box, you open the box, you get an invitation to a Hellworld party, which just happens to be down the street, apparently.
Yeah.
And so they go to this like rockin' house party, which, I mean, it's low hanging fruit. But if you were playing computer games in the early 2000s, you didn't look like that. I mean, you were wearing cereal T-shirts that were tucked into sweatpants.
I was like, I don't want to go right there, but I don't think any of these people would have been playing, what is it, MMORPG?
Basically, I think by that time, like World of Warcraft wasn't really a thing yet.
Right, yeah.
I mean, there was EverQuest that people were into, but it didn't have the same kind of purchase. But later, when Derek like loses his inhaler, I mean, the reality is everyone would be there, be like, "I got you, buddy. Yeah. I have several just on my own."
Yeah.
But it's all just
cool
like
trench coat. It's got a bandolier of inhalers, you know, to give to them.
This would be like a launch party for this game that like we hired all these hot people to be around and booth babes and all that.
That's a good call.
And the engineers are just in the back trying to make it work.
Yeah.
But.
Although Henry Cavill, handsome as the day is long.
Yeah.
Gigantic Warhammer geek.
Yeah. Big and PC nerd. So
hey, destroyed with logic. There you are.
It's true.
Yeah.
Destroyed by Neo Art and Logic, the production company for this movie.
Right. Yeah, it's real goofy. Like I texted you and friend of the show, Michael, when I was like 10 or 15 minutes into it. I was like, this is actually kind of funny. Like, it's real goofy. This could be good. And then as soon as I texted that, I was like, then it just completely fell off and became a normal like house party.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when they first got there, I was kind of into it. Or, I mean, even at the very beginning, when Henry Cavill goes to Chelsea's apartment, I guess to play the computer.
Yeah.
That's all he does there. He just goes in there to play the computer. I'm like, hell yeah, I get this dude.
Right.
I know what he's about.
Yeah. Well, and he's also wearing a Chatterer mask, which is funny.
Well, he's not Chatterer in this one. He's Melted Face Cenobite.
Right. Yeah.
For reasons unknown to anyone.
Yeah. I also did enjoy the kids using a mouse to open the puzzle box because that was just so goofy. The digital puzzle box.
I can't believe it, the box.
Oh, come on, open it.
I'm trying.
Oh, Allison, you're all herky-jerky here. Come here, you got to finesse it.
Oh, Derek.
So now we've obviously had, people using their hands. Then we've had the Hellraiser 4 virtual reality robot type of thing. Now we're using a mouse, and it was so funny to watch like the little pointer rub around the circle on the lament configuration. He's like, one of them's even wearing a Pinhead t-shirt.
Yeah, this movie is very self-referential in the idea that like Hellraiser exists as a fictional thing in this world.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the game or there were movies based on the game, because like all the trappings and the lore or whatever are both treated as, yeah, this is fake, but also, yes, this is real.
Sure.
Like when the host later is talking about like how he has his Le Marchand paint or something like that, you'd be like, why do you have that? Yeah. Who made that? It's just sort of assumed that, no, that's real. And he made this box. Like the movie can't come down one way or the other on whether this stuff is real or not, but that's kind of the point they're trying to do. It's all very confusing, and we'll get to in the end, but
yeah,
there's a lot of meta references in this. And when you think that it's a little bit older, I mean, not by much, but this is kind of on the heels of the Scream franchise doing that, and then Wes Craven's New Nightmare getting all sort of meta with it, and so trying to kind of cram that whole vibe in there as well.
Yeah, it really cram my vibe.
They cram the vibes.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, it goes so far as to like the first topless woman shot of her walking down the stairs with her jacket open. A guy literally just says,
gratuitous tit shot. Necessary tit shot.
I'm just like, so you're commenting on horror movies now, and not just Hellraiser as a franchise, but as horror movies, overall.
That actress is one of the actresses from the train car sequence in Deader.
Yes.
So it's just like,
yep.
Will you take your shirt off again?
Yes, we will pay you money.
Yeah.
So was the woman who hooks up with Henry Cavill.
Oh.
She was also in that. And she was also a sexy nun in Prophecy 4 as well.
Oh, wow.
So, not that I've seen it and tracking her. I'm just saying that I listened to the director's commentary
Not
before.
that I've seen it and I'm tracking her. I am just tracking her.
Yes.
Why won't you respond to my text?
Right. Fine, I had problems with Prophecy 4. All this dumb setup had me a little bit excited, as in, I know this is dumb, but they're doing something different and it's not just a dour bullshit detective movie.
Right.
I was like, ooh, we're going to have fun kills. I know it's weird. I always remember either reading about 1950s beach party movies, and then, I worked in trailer marketing for a while, a long time ago. And there's this idea that teens in the 50s wanted to watch other teens having fun. So because then they could feel like they're having fun. And one of the trailer marketing questions I always had to ask was do these people look like they're having fun because you wanted to be a part of their party? And so now I think about that every time I see party scenes, and boy, this movie is just one long party scene that I'm supposed to be wow, I wish I was there too. Listening to this stock bullshit metal music.
Yeah, when they go to the party, it is just this minute or two montage of them just being in the car smiling.
Yeah.
While the same riff plays over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And also a point of order is, this is really nitpicky, but the license plate changes from American to Romanian and then back
Hell
again.
yeah.
Yeah, not a bigger deal, but it's
that was your Romanian license plate check segment of the show.
Yeah. This is the first and only time this has happened.
John's really into international DMV offices.
The core conceit of this show is finding Romanian license plates, and only now is it come true. Yeah, it's a lot of them, because these aren't characters really. No. I can barely remember most of their names. Only that later when they're calling each other and their names show up inexplicably. We can get to that, but yeah, it's just that Texas Chainsaw 3D had more fleshed out characters. These are just Henry Cavill he's
just horny.
He's just a horny jerk. Mm-hmm. Derek is annoying.
Yeah.
Allison is British.
Yep.
And I guess that's supposed to be enough. And then Catherine Winnick is Chelsea, our sort of main protagonist. Mm-hmm. She's a little over this, but she's going along for the ride anyway.
Yeah.
And then there's Jake, who's been the most scarred by Adam's death.
I didn't even know his name for the longest time. I just kept writing Loner Boy in my notes.
Yeah.
That was about it.
We're introduced to them at this funeral for their friend Adam. They don't let you on how he died, but you get the sense that Jake doesn't like them because of how Adam died and then blames them for it.
Yeah.
And Chelsea has a freak out about Adam crawling out of the casket.
They're still playing the game 2 years later. So he committed suicide 2 years before. They're still playing the game. It's still their whole identity. And then they get invited to this giant house party where they meet the host, Lance Henriksen. I'm just going to call him Lance the entire time because he doesn't actually have a name. He's just referred to as host in the credits. His plan is so stupid by the end, and I have so many questions about it, but it did kind of crack me up. He leads our kids into his office, and it's oh, this is a big deal for first-time attendees here. This is the largest collection of Hellraiser. He doesn't say props, but that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
And it's just well, you've got a puzzle box and you got some chains. What else?
Right.
Yeah. Have we seen a Pinhead tarot deck before?
No, that was a new one.
That was a new one. So, they're adding to the lore right there. So the guys on the commentary did kind of joke about that. They were just yeah, fill it all with Hellraiser stuff. And they said, well, we realized that there's basically only two things. Hellraiser. You got the puzzle box and you got chains, and that's kind of it.
It seemed like you could probably have put masks in glass cases or something that might have worked, but
right.
Yeah, not a whole lot of trappings that are immediately recognizable from a distance.
Right.
Yeah. And a weird factoid that I really like about this is that, as you said, Rick Bode is I ran into Lance Henriksen coming off of Mimic 3. And it's I'd like to work for you. We don't have anything for Deader yet, anything for you for Deader, but working on this other script might have something for you. Send it to Lance. And Lance loved it so much he flew back right away. And
get me on that plane back to Romania, he said.
Yeah, and that may have happened. In my mind, it's a little bit more like, again, bringing back Bill Lustig, talking about getting Michael Lerner to be in Maniac Cop 2, where he just gets off Barton Fink and he's like, yeah, but what are you doing tomorrow? And he's like, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, come shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So it could just be Lance like, that's fine. I'll go back to Romania. Don't know.
A working actor.
He did say, apparently Lance Henriksen did want his ears pinned back. Like he wanted to make people to kind of like glue back his ears to give his face more of a, like a Doberman or lupine look.
Interesting. I didn't even notice that.
It was bothering me because he looked weird, and then I read that and I was like, I wonder if that's what it is, because his head is tubier than normal.
I mean, look, Lance Henriksen is always a welcome guy on screen. I'm not going to say he elevates everything, but he makes it a little bit more palatable all the time. So I can sit and watch and, very importantly, listen to that guy talk forever. And I imagine if you're working on one of these films, it's very nice to have like kind of an elder statesman there.
Sure.
And the guys on the commentary did say like, yeah, after we had wrapped, we'd just go out to the bar with Lance and he would, in a very not self-aggrandizing way, just tell you long stories about every movie he's ever worked on. And it was fascinating. And I'm just like, that probably colors your experience of performance and everything.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I would love to hear him talk about Savage Dawn, like whatever. Just that would rule.
And of course, as we probably said in the first Hellraiser movie discussion, he turned down the role of Frank to be in Near Dark. And so it is kind of fun that years later he's come around for the 8th or 9th or whatever we're on. Yeah, so Lance starts giving the kids like a tour of the house, and we go into another room. Oh, also the house used to be an insane asylum, of course. It
used to be an insane asylum.
Of course. Yep. Was it also a nunnery?
Yes, then it was a nunnery where I guess a bunch of murders happened.
And for decades, Lamachan's palace stood as such. Then came the convent's final Mother Superior, Sister Ursula. A nun whose vows were shattered by an obsession for a tiny puzzle box and the unholy pleasures sealed inside it.
So we've got the confluence of both of those, like in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, but we'll get to that eventually.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're really trying to like lean in that perhaps the house itself is cursed.
But the funny thing about this is like, I don't know why that set exists in that house. Why is there just a giant workshop of chemicals and babies in jars and stuff like that? To me, that was just more of a, wouldn't it be cool if, and not a, this makes sense in any way.
Yeah, they give some vague explanation for it and like how they were experimenting and killing bodies, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And in fact, there was going to be a murder baby. Yeah, that was I forget what they called it, like a hydro baby. Mm-hmm. That Gary Tunnicliffe made. He's back doing more of the effects for the physical effects for this, and he has a small appearance as well at the end. But there was just like, we can't make that work.
He didn't have all of his tools in Romania to make a mechanical baby,
right? So they just kept a whole bunch of little babies in jars for some reason.
Yeah,
because Hellraiser.
Yeah, because Hellraiser, babies in jars.
This is a Hellraiser celebrations. You're going to have a lot of Hellraiser stuff, including the famous Hellraiser babies in jars.
Yeah. Babies didn't even have pins coming out of their face. Right?
I know.
Gee whiz. But yeah, we get a stupid jump scare in that. And that room doesn't make any sense. And jumping ahead, that is, of course, it's a place of 2 of the kills, I believe. So Derek's kill is in there.
Yep.
And I love this because when the script was submitted, they just said in the script there were no details for the kills. It was basically like, we'll figure it out based on the environment.
Okay.
So they got there and they were just like, Pinhead famously decapitates people, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The reason why Derek gets decapitated is because the actor had just come off of another horror film and had already done a life cast of his head. So they were just like, well, guess you're getting decapitated again, because they had that as a resource from a previous film. Now, as far as the story goes, that's stupid. As far as production ingenuity, part of me has to just applaud that kind of crap.
Uh-huh.
If you're stuck in Romania and you're coming off Prophecy 4 and Mimic 3 and like just like trading everything. We got a head. We're using the head.
Yeah, there is an element of all this where I'm like, you guys did it. Like, I can't deny that you got something together with like such little prep time and such little resources.
Yeah.
It's still terrible, but absolutely use the head again. If you haven't used it. Oh, the people from Mimic 3 are letting you use their burn suit. Absolutely put in a burn suit. Like, light someone on fire.
Yeah. That's why Derek's death scene happens that way. Do you know the actor? I don't know how long you kept up with Walking Dead, but he's a major character on Walking Dead now.
Yeah, that was long after I had bailed.
Ezekiel.
He was in Dracula 2 Ascension.
Oh, right.
Which I also have not watched.
I have not either.
I hope he gets he plays the characters are a lot less stupid than Derek, because Derek is really annoying. And
Ezekiel's a fun character, I think. He's got a tiger. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like if you look at his stuff now, like he looks like a badass, and he could be like tough and menacing. And this, like, he's just making the troll face the whole movie,
Sure.
and I don't care for that.
Yeah. So he gets decapitated. Henry Cavill comes to an end because they happen to just have a giant hook in there.
Right, to move the corpses around, or that we find, I guess. Yeah.
So, Pinhead famously using his environment. Well, I guess he does that in Hellraiser 3.
He does have, but he BYOH, bring your own hooks.
That's true.
But budgets being what they are, even in hell, I guess, they were hit by the early 2000s recessions. Yeah, it's funny because this movie predates Saw, but there's a couple of very Saw-looking things in there, like that room is very lit with that kind of sickly green, very much a part of the Saw flavor profile. And then of course, there's the very Saw death with the chair.
Right.
But they actually, even though it came out after, because they pushed it, they filmed it before. So
yeah, that Saw chair, that's the first death in the film, and I don't understand what that chair is, but she's just sort of sitting in it, and a blade comes at her face.
Okay, but we're cutting out we're skipping over the best part of that scene.
Okay,
is that so they're all at this party, and we'll get into the phone and mask thing in a bit, because that really made me mad. They run into Jake there, and they're like, "Hey, let's try to make up," and he wants nothing to do with them. And then she's just like walking and sees a sign that says "Keep out," and she's like,
Yeah, right. As if.
"Fuck you, authority!" And God bless Anna Tolput for doing that, because that is one of the dumbest things. That's not like that Kid Rock, like, "Hey, authority," and it's like a picture of him giving the finger. Just so empty-headed, but she sells it. She makes because she goes in there, and it's just this storage room.
Yeah, she
pulls off sheets off of things, one of which is a statue, and she makes fun of the statue's penis.
Hey, how's it hanging?
Now imagine if you were that guy and your statue because you got frozen by Medusa and you're just stuck there forever, and you're like, finally human contact. It's like, look at your dick. Oh, so be nice to statues, everyone, is what I'm saying. You never know.
Yeah.
You don't know what struggle statues have been through.
Could be you next.
It could, I hope not. I have enough people laughing at my penis as it is. But she pulls the sheet off this like weird chair thing and sits down and immediately gets strapped in, and Lance Henriksen just happens to be there. And is like,
it's been used to drain the blood of Hellworld explorers since Leviathan himself first spoke the realm into being.
Wait, what? I thought none of this was real, but okay, no, this actually is. He's like, no, it's safe unless the blades are engaged. Oops. The blades are engaged immediately, and then it's a pretty brutal way to go, because it's on either side of her throat, and these little like pizza cutter wheels chop her up, and she dies bloody and horribly.
One note about that sign, the keep out sign. Rick Boda did say he was just like, I wanted some sort of like, no trespassing sign or something like that. And he's like, but we're in Romania. Wasn't a lot of English signs around, so we just had to go with that one. He's like, I know, it didn't work. Like, he just says that on the commentary, which is great.
I mean, that's fair. That's, I'd rather you just admit it than being like, well, actually what this ended up doing was elevating,
For sure.
Yeah, no, it looks like you bought it at a hardware store.
It's got to be that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the rest of the party is ornamented with, like, there's a big Hellraiser cube. There's people that say it looks nice. The location is great. And then just to have this, like, sign stuck there where there was, like, keep out. And screw you, authority. But yeah, while that's happening, Chelsea gets a call from the phone, which brings me to the phone thing.
The phone thing
I want to talk about. So Lance Henriksen shows them this wall of white masks, these plain white, like paper mache masks with 4 numbers on their head and a bunch of phones.
Everybody gets a mask and a cell phone. Each mask has a 4-digit number on it. You wish to engage in the pleasures that only flesh can bring. You pick a tasty morsel, dial that number.
Sweet.
Even though there's not really a tie, the masks and phones are organized together.
Yeah, that was my question.
But so it's like, yeah, so you can have some, or like Mike Henry Cavill calls it, anonymous debauchery. Right. No faces, no names, whatever. Just dial the number and be like, hey, let's have sex, and they can see you and do it too. No one does it right. And I would be so mad if I were Lance Henriksen that no one is doing this right, because they're all showing each other their faces immediately. Like you text them, they're like, this is what I look like. You're ruining it for me. Like I spent a bunch of time paper macheing this stuff, and you're just not following the rules. Stop having fun the way you want to and have fun the way I want to.
I am the host for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bothered to set up all these phones, and you guys just don't even care.
Pinhead would be very upset if we were not following these rules of debauchery.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably a bunch of deleted scenes of him explicitly saying why they blew it. Lance Henriksen transforming into Pinhead and being like, you should have actually dialed the number. Don't look at her face.
Yeah, the phones become even more of a device as the movie goes on, which, I don't know, who cares?
Well, they want to do this theme of isolation in the whole thing, that the game made Adam so isolated from everyone and so apart that he ended up killing himself for it. That this debaucherous world is actually made up of, this anonymous, like it's very isolating. You're not actually connecting with anyone. You have to do it through these phones, which it's made me very happy. They're the old Nokia phones. Yeah. I love those stupid old phones. So I got very excited to see them, and you see them a lot. Yeah. But yeah, that there's this removal from people, from each other, both in that way. And then eventually like every single character just wanders off and gets killed while they're on their own. So there attempts to be this through line of isolation and how bad that is for you, but it doesn't really work, because particularly like right out of the gate, Derek is very excited to have this mask. Yes. And he's hitting on a couple ladies while the mask is up, blowing it. And Allison calls him, and his phone reads Allison. Right. That it's Allison calling. That's like, why would her name be in his phone? Yeah. Did she do a phone setup of some sort? And I bring this up not as a like cinema sins whoopsie, but just that you just didn't follow through with any of this. Like it's just as we get on and you start to wonder like what's real, what's not. It makes even less sense. Yeah. And it's clearly there's no cohesion for all of this. Yeah, and it's clearly for the sake of the audience. Like we need to know that Allison is calling him. So we have a name on a phone to look at. And there's several things that are like that are there just for the audience. Like when Chelsea is like looking around and the camera will occasionally pan by what I think is supposed to be Adam's burnt corpse, like standing there. She never sees it and reacts to it. No one else does, but we're supposed to go like, that's scary. Yeah. So another reason why we have these phones, heck with it. Let's just get to the end so that we can talk about the rest of it within context of knowing this stupid ending. So there are multiple kids that have been drugged from drinking the whiskey and all that kind of thing at the beginning. Spraying yourself in the face with perfume. Yeah, that'll do it. Psychoactive drug of some sort that then they are buried alive in a coffin, and Lance Henriksen is able to communicate with them and influence them via these Nokia phones. Right. And they have little breathing tubes. He gives the longest backstory description towards the end of this movie that we have to just kind of hang on every word of. And, I don't buy a lick of it. And then it's their new way of saying, like, all that stuff that we've been seeing. It's not that they're in hell and it doesn't matter. It's just all a hallucination brought on by the host, and it still doesn't matter. Right. Yeah, because it's revealed that Lance Henriksen is Adam's dad. Right. And they make it a point to bring up that Adam's dad was not around for him. Yeah. But somehow, like, hadn't seen him in like 16 years, but somehow went, oh, wait, my kid actually ruled. I have to go have this insanely elaborate plot to murder his friends, even though it's also like it's their fault. but I guess they're friends. I don't know. Yeah, it involves the party, I think, did happen.
Yes.
And so he brought them there to be drugged. So he still he somehow got in touch with the makers of this game to do this, or else he just beat it himself and infiltrated it. And there was no rules because it's a weird Hellraiser party. And then, drugged them and then took them out and buried them all while the party's going on and no one noticed. And then was just fucking with them the entire time. But then some people started dying and he was like, well, I don't know if the plot was always to kill them or if it was just like, I'm going to really fuck with them and make them feel terrible like they apparently did to my son. And then just whoops, some people died as a result of this. Right. But I'm not going to stop. I'm too far in. Yeah,
I don't know why he didn't just go ahead and just kill them outright. Like, why go to the lengths of the coffin and the breathing tubes and the hallucinations and all that kind of thing too?
Yeah, I mean, perhaps if stuff with Adam or their relationships with Adam were more fleshed out beyond having every time they die, Pinhead would show up, or when they were about to die, and be like, Adam would think this was cool, and then kill them. Or it's like, no, now you know how Adam feels, which isn't really enough. Yeah. I still don't know who this character is or why he ended up that way or what specifically they did. It sounds like they all just started playing this game a lot, and then he got too into it.
It does kind of crack me up at one point. Lance says something to the effect of well, I'm just going to go party. Or I'm going to go enjoy the party or something like that. So the party is actually going on while he's murdering all these people. So he is murdering and he's also partying, with all the hell seekers.
You got to do a little of both.
But that once we got around to that, and of course we do see him digging graves throughout the movie, but we're not, we have no idea really why. And one funny anecdote was that he landed in Romania, was driven to set, was given an overcoat and said, hey, you mind just starting to dig some holes? And he immediately just set about doing it because he is a professional. 11 p.m. off a transatlantic flight, digging in graves immediately.
The glamorous life of an actor.
Exactly. Yeah. What if they flew him first class? Probably not.
That would be hilarious though if that's we had a budget but we had to fly Lance Henriksen over here
class.
Business class, and that ruined it.
$2,500 and we're not coming back from that.
Bye Hydro, baby.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the overriding point of this movie. So again, we have this, what we've been seeing isn't reality, but it's not hell. It's a hallucination because of a drug.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that I owe Scott Derrickson an apology.
Oh wow,
because I don't, and I refuse to. But in retro, compared to this, Inferno was a lot more coherent and kind of tried to have a point, whereas this really didn't. And a lot of this combined the irritatingness of the detective character in Inferno and what is even happening? I don't care of Hellseeker. I don't care what's real. It doesn't matter. I don't understand, because there's people have these freak out things where they're like, oh, are they in a coffin or something? Because they're trying to set up that this is what's actually happened to them. And it never really reads very well, I don't think. And it's plays more like a slasher thing of these people being kind of taken away and then picked off. So the hallucinations don't really matter to me. When they start leaning on it more, eventually Chelsea calls the cops and the cops show up. And they can't see her, or Jake has a thing where he can't.
That was frustrating, and I didn't know why. And
it just seems out of place with everything else, because then it's not like they're going. There's this a gradual well, what's happening? Why is this happening? It's just well, this is happening. That sucks. Oh, I guess it's not this. I don't know. They're just They didn't set up that very well. And it also, because they're trying to tie it to Hellraiser. Yeah, Pinhead just shows up.
Pinhead shows up at each of the death scenes to just sort of stand there. But they do make it a point. Someone says, because this is a meta movie, nobody's opened the box yet. So then there's this weird discussion in movie about why the Cenobites are around. I guess I was thinking too, but at the same time, I was barely engaged enough, to really care.
And to your point, I think if this was just a dumb slasher movie, you said this was kind of fun to watch, this fits in with that kind of thing, which is again why I say it's sort of the Wishmaster 3, because it's very much a piece with that kind of slasher element to it. Because the Hellraiser side of it just really doesn't matter. And the fact that that's treated as, I mean, in some ways, like you said, while in the movie it's stupid, from a production standpoint, you kind of have to be like, well, that's some ingenuity.
Totally.
I do have to give Carl Dupre, however you say it, credit for like the idea of like, well, you're presented with the script and you have 2 weeks to make it a Hellraiser script.
Sure.
And the idea of like, well, I'm just going to make it reference Hellraiser rather than actually like try to get all this. It's kind of an attempt to be clever way to go about it. I don't think it works.
Agreed.
But I can at least recognize that like you were up against a wall and that's one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you have Pinhead just like, showing up and decapitating a guy, it's like, well,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, there was no single exciting Pinhead moment in this movie, too. Like, he didn't have, like, a great line, like, not even, like, a one-liner from part 3 or something like that. He just sort of shows up when each person is, like, fake killed, really, until the very, very end, when the host is in a hotel room at the end. And he basically just sort of like, oh, what's this little puzzle box? I don't know what this is. I'm going to open it. Boom. And then Pinhead and 2 Cenobites appear and slash him up.
And it does. We've talked before about Pinhead really kind of requiring an environment to really work. And I think like some of the Saw like rooms in this place or whatever, he still kind of fits in. But when he's just like in a hallway in the Days Inn, it doesn't really work. Like that's why in like part 2, when they summon him, like, walls open and stuff. But since he's like in this department that Leviathan doesn't care about anymore, he doesn't get that. He just gets to open the door. He's got a key card. He just gets in the room. And I did like that the way, because he's with the melted face Cenobite, aka Chatterer, and the banded Cenobite, which is Bound, who we've seen in a different one as well. And I do like their cool chain weapons, though. They have these weird bladed weapons on chains that they both swing at Lance Henriksen, cutting him. So it does the body like slowly slide apart thing. And I wonder if there's a little bit of a Aliens nod there too.
I thought that exact thing. Yeah.
But the effect looks really bad.
It does look really bad. And I think this is the first time that I've seen Pinhead or the Cenobites like have weapons besides the chains.
Well, in part 3, like the one, the CD guy had CDs, but it all seemed like a part of and the camera guy could look at something so hard it blew up. But that was like a part of them. This was like, oh no, actually, even going back to the first one, Butterball was like, I've got a knife coming at you.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's true.
So these were a little bit more elaborate and kind of like Butterballs was more like last ditch effort. Sure. Like, fucking, I don't know.
I mean, I just finished reading the Scarlet Gospels, which I'll talk about more on the wrap up, but it did frequently talk about Pinhead's belt, where he had instruments of torture and weapons hanging off of it at all times. So it does make a little bit more sense in the book lore, I suppose. But but it's also like, I mean, if you can just conjure up chains with hooks from just wherever, what are you doing? Yeah. Maybe they like that personal touch of having like a personal weapon.
Because he's always deciding he needs interns, that he needed to justify it. Like, look, I had to have them do this.
I was going to ask you, where in Pinhead's career arc, where is he at now?
That's a good question, because like I think because he seems to be out of the.
He tried to go tech world, so maybe he's like trying to do the
like that's something they've kicked him to the online division. They're like, this is a new hot thing on the internet. Maybe team up with D. Snyder from what was that movie, Strangeland or something. You guys can team up and kill people for going to the wrong website. I don't know.
Because typo. My skin is torn off. The bar is low now. Pinhead, he's exploring his online options now with his career.
Evil goes online, indeed.
Yeah.
God, it doesn't matter. Like, why did they even have that? Like, that is such just a stupid, like, oh, kids like video games. Let's do that.
Right.
It could have just been, we all like Hellraiser. Let's go to this Hellraiser party.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I was bummed at how the video game aspect just sort of fell off. Even though that's a terrible idea, I wanted to see their terrible idea just keep going, I guess.
Yeah, it would have been way more fun if it was actually a thing. Like if it was the game was actually you found out the game was opening the box.
Right.
And this was a way for them to get, I mean, because that's something with, I will say at least with Deader, is that there was, as nonsensical as it might be, there was like some stakes involved with the whole thing, and not just a personal, like you might go to hell, where it's like, no, if the Deaders get access to this, they can access hell, and this the whole thing that's happening here. Where this is just what if a guy was mad at some teens, and like that's not new. And then particularly when it's revealed that Pinhead isn't really involved, that it's not even a Hellraiser movie. That it is a movie about a guy who's seen a Hellraiser movie killing some people. Yeah. Until the end, where it's like, oh, it turns out it's real.
So it's the Jason 5 of it all.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
It's just like a copycat.
If Jason 5, if Jason 5 ended with, well, now I'm trying to think of how Jason 5 ends. I don't think Jason 5 ends with like, oh, but the real Jason's still out there.
Correct. They don't.
Yeah. Because that's, if it ended like that, with the real Jason being like, hey, out of the way, poser.
My territory. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just time to honor the dead in this one.
It's real stupid. I will say on a more positive note, I will say this, that much like in Pumpkinhead, I think it was Pumpkinhead 3, where they clearly have these Romanian actors that they have to overdub.
Yeah.
When Chelsea escapes and meets the policeman, and he's the one who ends up getting like stabbed through the head with the stake, which is a great effect.
Yeah, that was good.
But when he's talking to her, the quality and the lilt of his dubbing made me feel like I was watching a Fulci movie. And so I'm like, I'm back in, man. I'm back in. Is this Joe D'Amato? I am back in.
Yeah.
Just that somehow the schlockiness of that. So if this was the same movie, but everyone was dubbed, I probly would love it. That's how,
you
that's
do
how
love
dumb
a
I
good
am.
dubbed horror.
I do love a good, terribly dubbed horror. We could just honor the dead, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. All right, here we go. Adam, played by Stellian Urian, self-immolated. Allison, played by Anna Tolput, throat cut by chair machine, also gouged herself to death in coffin. Derek, played by Carrie Payton, decapitated by Pinhead, also suffered asthma attack in coffin. Mike, played by Henry Cavill, impaled on a swinging hook, also died of fear in coffin. The host, played by Lance Henriksen, sliced up by the Chatterer. And yet again, of course, were they killed in their set pieces? No, they were killed within the coffins. So Henry Cavill dies of fright. Derek dies because of his asthma inhaler, because of course somebody else chops her own throat out. Yeah, that's
what, like, because she died because it was so real for her. The Allison. The saw thing was so real for her that she clawed out her own throat.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, so does that mean Derek just pulled his own head off? And I kind of wish they went for that. But it was so real, he pulled his own head off.
That would have been cool.
Like that's one of those like acid casualty stories you hear about. Like, well, they thought they could fly. It's like, yeah, he was so fucked up. He tore his own head off.
I would have applauded the movie for bravery at that point.
I would have been on board. Yeah, if it was like, no, we are being this stupid.
We're going wacky.
Instead of having him, because we didn't talk about that, when he loses his inhaler.
Oh God.
And it gets kicked around the dance floor and he's like, oh no. And then it like gets kicked into a vent. And like any party you go to, you're handed the schematics for the place. And so he could see where the vents go. And he follows it. It's this really long journey down there. It's like, so I guess this asthma attack isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Because he's eventually just more annoyed that he has to make this walk.
Of course.
And then you get the scariest thing Rick Boda can think of, apparently, which is to have to reach for something. Because between this and Deader, there's just that same, oh, I've almost got it. And then just gets his head chopped off. It's like, oh, okay.
Chelsea does that too at the end of this movie. Mm-hmm. She's reaching for guy who she thinks is under the floorboards too. So a lot of reaching. Yeah, this is like I said, I think I enjoyed it just a little bit more than you did, for the sake of it wasn't just trying to be this full of itself dour type of thing. It was trying to have fun. So that on the curve of this bullshit, like I was enjoying it just a little bit more. It's still not, That's damning by faint praise.
Even though there's a lot of the same crew, this is a very different feel and look of a movie. Like the cinematographer is not the same, but the editor is. But there's a lot more. This does seem a lot more of just like your typical horror movie of that time. And it's got that like the pointless speed ramps in a couple of scenes.
I forgot about that.
That don't quite work. It seems like, oh, is this just not long enough? And so you're kind of just I'm making it work as much as I can, but we have time to fill. There's still a lot of padding in this movie.
Sure.
So you didn't need those speed ramps, but yeah, it has a much different sensibility than the last one. And some of that could be the amount of prep time that you had, and just the fact that there wasn't really a script and a lot of issues. But
no script, no prep time. Good movie.
They did well, and they did bring back a lot of sex to this one.
That's true.
It's a lot more like your safer MTV style sex, just hot people making out. And if you want to see a protracted scene where Henry Cavill is getting fellatio and mugging throughout it, this movie's got you covered. But otherwise, it's the sex without the passion and the desire that, and it just feels a lot safer, even though it's public sex and that. Yeah.
All right, everyone, that's going to do it for this one. And we've got nowhere to go but up, right?
I don't know anymore. Yeah. I mean,
I think we're starting to get kind of numb. I admit I'm clawing to the end of this one.
This one definitely hurts the most so far. Cause I think even looking back at, and we can save more of this for the wrap up, but like Texas Chainsaw, you just see them like remaking the same movie a billion times. You're like, what are you doing? They're just adrift. This is kind of what you think of when you think of franchise filmmaking, in that like they have just stopped caring and just put Pinhead in this and whatever.
Yeah.
Even though this is the first of this length that we've seen. I mean, certainly some of the smaller, like Wishmaster goes through some quick rush stuff, or, Pumpkinhead, whatever. But this has been 4 movies now of what is happening.
Yeah.
What is going, or 3 or 4 movies now of just like, why are we still doing this? Why is this has nothing to do with anything else? Poor Pinhead.
Poor Pinhead. He deserves better. And maybe he'll get it next time in Hellraiser Revelations. Yeah.
I forgot. I always forget that there's one more before Judgment.
Revelations, then Judgment, then the 2022 Hulu edition. So we've got 3 more, folks.
But we are out of the Boda box now.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah, no more Boda.
I think this is the last Doug Bradley Pinhead.
It is the last.
What a way to go out.
No more Doug Bradley from here on out, everyone. But don't let that deter you. Watch the last 3 movies, everyone. Like, we've come this far.
Yeah.
You can't jump ship now. I mean, you could, and we'd never know. But
I will know.
And I'll send Butterball after you.
Yeah. Hey, someone stop watching Hellraiser. Just wake up in a cold sweat.
Yeah. Smart person.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to do it for this week, guys. You can follow us on Instagram at This May Hurt a Bit Pod. Hurt a Bit Pod on YouTube, and you can email us at thismayhurtabitpod@gmail.com. So throw in all those DVDs that I'm sure you have of Hellraiser Revelations, and join us again in 2 weeks, which I'm sure it's going to get better.
It's got to.
I live in hope. All right, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
This has been a Caretaker Press production. It was produced by James Strayer and edited by John C. Myers. Logo by Ethan Kimberling and music by Michael Arthur Holloway, who you can find on Bandcamp. Follow us on Instagram at thismayhurtabitpod and email us at thismayhurtabitpod@gmail.com. Give us a 5-star review over on your favorite podcast app, and we'll see you next time.